Chapter 5. Evil Unleashed. "Hurry, this way," Diaxes shouted over the howling wind. The warriors followed Diaxes under the archway. A soft glow could be seen in the distance ahead of them. The source of the light turned out to be a large circular room. Torches that had been lit by the ill-fated miners lined the walls, brightly lighting the chamber. In the center of this massive cavern was a huge hole, 20 feet across. This giant pit made for a most dangerous place in which to fight. The force of the cold wind was growing so great that the warriors were forced to stand alongside the wall on either side of the gate to avoid being blown into the dark pit. The deafening roar of the tempest filled the chamber. Diaxes looked around, anxiously trying to devise a battle strategy. He noticed a raised iron gate that had been designed to keep the prisoner locked in. Judging from the spaces between the bars, the monster must have been immense. "Here's what we are going to do," Diaxes said. "Dorn and I will stand on the other side of the pit and draw the demon's attention. You others will hide along either side of the wall near the gate. When the demon enters the room, you will rush forward and push him into the pit. Once he is in the pit, Errol will release the lever over there and lower the lid on top of the pit." The warriors took their positions just as Diaxes described. Diaxes and Dorn walked to the other side of the pit and faced the gate. Ectheon, Cerebus, and Dialos stood along the wall to the left of the gate. Eadril and Arlam stood to the right. Errol crouched down by the winch near Eadril and Arlam. Suddenly the wind stopped and all was silent. Fear and anticipation filled the room as the creature slowly entered. A great horned head emerged first under the archway. The demon's burning red eyes locked on Diaxes and Doran. Upon entering the chamber, the monster stood fully erect, displaying its towering stature. It was indeed a dreadful thing to look upon. The beast was nearly twice the height of the long-limbed Diaxes and stood with its enormous bat-like wings at full span. 2 horns protruded from the temple region of its skeletal head. Its razor-sharp teeth were stained red with the blood of dwarves, and its eyes glowed like blazing coals. The demon let out a fierce cry and directed a blast of hot, sulfur-smelling air at Diaxes and Doran. Diaxes gave a nod, and the other warriors rushed forward. The demon immediately sensed their presence and turned to face them. The warriors stood like statues for a moment, afraid to move. Finally, Eadril charged at the demon. The others followed the warrior's lead. The shrill sound of steel clashing against steel rang throughout the chamber. Diaxes had refrained from the battle, not out of fear, but rather to give himself time to think of a new plan. The commander quickly made his way over to the winch by which young Errol crouched. "Whatever you do, Errol, do not leave this post," Diaxes whispered. "When I give you the signal, pull the lever immediately." Errol looked on as Diaxes carefully and quietly slithered up the heavy chain that held the dangling stone in place. Diobor fought on, oblivious to the commander's presence above him. When Diaxes reached the point on the chain where he felt he had the best angle of attack, he swung and released his grip. The commander landed on the mighty beast's brawny shoulders. Wasting no time, Diaxes drew his sword and began hacking fiercely at the demon's head. Diobor let out an ear-piercing scream as he thrashed wildly about in an attempt to remove his clinging assailant. "Push him in!" Diaxes shouted. "Push him in now!" The warriors looked questioningly at their commander. They found themselves torn. Obeying their leader's orders would not only result in Diobor's doom, but quite possibly Diaxes as well. However, refraining from such an action could mean the destruction of the entire company. Overcome by the urgency of their commander's words, Eadril and Arlam rushed at the demon. Diobor, already off balance through his attempts to ward off Diaxes, was unable to withstand the sudden thrust of the charging warriors. The demon stepped back, only to find there was no ground under his foot. All at once, the creature toppled backwards, falling helplessly into the pit, as it was too distracted to use its wings to reverse its momentum. Diaxes fell too. The warriors rushed to the edge of the abyss, fearing the worst had happened to their commander. Looking into the pit, the warriors discovered their leader's fate was not as doleful as they had feared. though he was far from safe. Diaxes had managed to grip the edge of the hole, but was unable to hoist himself up. Aedril and Arlon quickly reached down and pulled Diaxes out of harm's way. "Pull the lever, Errol, quickly," the commander ordered. The young elf did just as Diaxes said. The heavy iron chain spun loose as the massive stone lid came crashing down on top of the pit. The thundering impact echoed throughout the barren halls of the mountain. Diaxes sighed in relief as he looked upon the covered hole. "Do you suppose that will hold him?" Arlon asked. "It worked for over a generation," Aedril replied. "Still, I think it would be wise if the dwarf masons came down here and resealed the corridor. And this time carving a warning that everyone can understand." "Yes, I agree," Dorn concurred. "I thank you for your help, each and every one of you. Now I think it is time that we left this dismal place behind us. I think you will find the city of the Golden Lake to be much more to your liking. There, the king will grant you whatever it is you wish."